He's saying good morning.
Yeah, he was starting that at 3 a.m.
And it's really a wives' tale that they crow only in the morning
That's
because I don't
wrong.
know about yours, mine crow all day.
Yeah, we're playing with the chicks outside at 3 afternoon.
Yeah.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
It's like
But it's better than our other ones because our other ones went like this, cock-a-doodle, and then the other one screamed. They don't even
have
do the
one
whole thing.
we have one that kind of yodels. He's like,
Yodel-hee-hoo.
ooh, it's really funny.
Yeah, no.
Makes
But
us
one
laugh
of
every
our,
time we hear him out there.
yeah, I think it was our brown ones or our white ones too, but they went like this. Another one went
Yeah,
like,
something stuck in their throat or something. That's
yeah.
hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay,
But
so
the
we gotta
brown
get
one is
started.
the Americana or whatever it's called.
I love talking about roosters and animals and everything, but yeah, we definitely got to get started. But
Oh
okay, so
yeah,
just to
and one of our
prepare.
chicks is a rooster. Okay, you may proceed.
Yeah, okay. We are we're preparing for the state test. It's the CASP test that students from third through 12th grade, everybody's required to take. I know I talked to you a little bit about it last week, and I already explained to you that, you're just going to give it your best. And, when you get stuck on something, because there will be questions that are super hard, and maybe you don't even understand what they're asking. It's some of it is really hard. When you come to one of those, don't take too long on that test. Just do your best to guess and pick one and move on. And then there will be others that'll be really easy for you. So it's kind of a mix of everything. So just to prepare you for that. The language arts part of the test has two parts to it. The first part one, is reading articles or reading a passage and then answering questions about the passage is comprehension. So those can be easy because you can always look back to find the answer. Usually it's there in the article. Sometimes it's implied, like you have to understand what they're asking for. But when you're done with that part, you'll go on to part two for the language arts, and that's the writing part. And like I said last week, some of the questions are only going to be like one or two sentences long. It'll be just like a short answer. Some of them they want one paragraph, and then there will be an essay that you have to write. And the essay for you guys is going to be 5 paragraphs long. So just to forewarn you, this part of the test is long. And so prepare yourself to just be in the test for more than an hour, and maybe closer to 2 hours for this part of the test. And just know that you're not timed. So that just means you don't have to rush. And the way you can pace yourself is to work on it, a section at a time. And you'll see that the test is broken up into sections. And then maybe take a break, ask whoever is watching you take the test if it's okay to walk around for a minute, get a drink of water. I really recommend that because it really helps get oxygen to your brain, and it also helps you kind of reset. You know how it is on the computer. Every once in a while we all have to reboot the computer because it's updating stuff. And it's kind of a cool analogy to think of our brains that way because our brains need updating too, actually. And the way to do that is to take a break, to walk away, think about something else, look at something else, go pet your cat, go pet your dog, take a drink of water. And
Or in this case, if you're at school, go just get water from the water fountain.
that's right, because you're probably going to be at Valley Oaks, right? When you take
Yeah.
the test. Yeah. So, yeah, but they'll let you get up and walk around for a minute, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water. Yeah. And then come back. Um,
You can get up if you're done with one of the tests, and that's it.
oh, they should let you take a break. If you
Yeah, you'll be like halfway done with your reading. They'll be like, "Are you finished with the test?"
can.
No, I just need a break. No,
Okay,
finish
here's
the
an
test
idea for you
again.
then. Yeah, because if they don't let you get up and walk around at Valley Oaks, I know it's a little bit different. What I recommend then is just looking away from the computer. Just look up at the ceiling or look out the window for a minute, take a couple deep breaths. That's another way to kind of reset your brain a little bit. And that's always good. They won't mind if you do that. You just look out the window and, just
Yeah,
take a
it's
deep breath.
because like if you get up, then everybody else will want to get up, and then you have this whole like classroom full of nobody doing homework.
Yeah, it's a little bit different in that setting. I think most people in this class are in at Heartland, which means you'll be taking the test from home. It'll be a Zoom call. Good morning, Jude. How are you?
Good. I'm late.
That's okay. We're just kind of, I'm just giving a little pep talk about the test, um, and just talking about how important it is to take a little break throughout the test. And if you're with Heartland, you'll be able to do it from home. And that's a little bit easier to ask permission on the Zoom call to take a short break and walk around, get a drink of water, and reset your brain. We were talking about how, our brains are like computers in the sense that your computer will get to a point where it has to be restarted and the updates have to come through in order for it to function properly. Our brains are kind of like that. So, um, taking a break, taking some deep breaths, looking outside, walking around, getting a drink of water, and then coming back to sit down, it really triggers oxygen to your brain and it helps you think better, and stay more focused. So that's what I'm recommending as far as those little tips on taking the test. I was explaining too that this test is long. It's really long. You probably know you've done it before, but the writing part is really long. Some of the questions are going to be just a couple sentences that you type out. Some might be a paragraph, but you will have an essay is as part of your writing assignment, and the essay is 5 paragraphs. So you will have to really just take your time on planning that and then typing it out. So I want to share with you first. Oh, by the way, Jude, did your mom get to print out the practice page that I emailed her? It's about the performance task.
I don't know.
Oh, you didn't get it? Okay. Um, is she home right now or is she busy?
She's probably busy right now,
Probably
but
busy.
I could
Okay.
tell her right after class.
Yeah, because I'm going to be using that only. We're not going to do grammar or our binder today. We're only focusing on practice for the test. So if you don't have it printed, it's going to be hard for you to do it, but you
Yeah, I could try to print it real quick though.
yeah, I
Go to
emailed
her
it
email,
to
right?
her. If you want to go to her email, it's free.
Okay.
Let me know if you can't find it. I'll email it to you so you can print it.
When did you send it today or sorry?
Last night,
Okay.
actually. Yeah. And then while you're looking for that, I'm just going to share this paper with you. This is telling what types of essays you might have. So they never tell us, they want it to be a surprise. So you never know what you're going to get as far as the style of essays. So here are the different essays. It is broken up into 2 grade groups, but yours is, you're in a higher grade here. So any of these you might have for your essay part of the test. Opinion essays, those are essays where you express an opinion about something. Like, do you prefer cats over dogs or dogs over cats? And you have an opinion about that. It's not like it's factual or there's actual studies on that. It's more about what you think. And these are some keywords you can use in those types of essays. And by the way, I'm attaching this to your homework this week so that you can print this or look at it and get a feel for what each style of essay is looking for. Um, this one is the opinion. You're going to express an opinion. Then the informative and explanatory essays, that's more like what you were working on with, what did you guys recently write about? I'm trying to remember. Nikola Tesla, when you guys wrote about that. Um, and anytime you're writing about an actual event, Johannes Gutenberg, remember that one? So anytime it's factual, that's what the informative explanatory essays are. Yes, Jude.
I read this whole thing last night and it was printed. I just printed it again. I'm just out of it.
That's okay. No worries. I'm kind of out of it too, so we're in the same boat. But we got this. We can do this. We can overcome. So informative explanatory, that's what you're used to as far as like research style. And the narrative essays, those are the ones that are like a story. Remember when we did the story sequence chart and you had to come up with characters and setting, and then you had to come up with a problem or a conflict, and then a climax and resolution. That's that style. You might have one of those. You're more likely going to have one of these argumentative essays or explanatory essays, which is the same thing I explained up here about an actual fact. So today during class, we're going to practice an argumentative essays because we haven't really done that yet in class, the key words that you want to remember to use in that essay is I argue that, or it can be argued, because argumentative, you see that word argue in there. You're debating, okay? The evidence shows, in support of, on the contrary, however, although, therefore, in conclusion. These are all good key words to use throughout your essay if you get an assignment that's argumentative. So basically, it's similar to opinion, but you have actual facts to back up your opinion on something. So whereas the opinion is literally just an opinion up here. Those are the different styles. So let's get into the packet that you have. Any questions about those different styles of essays that we just talked about? Okay. All right, so this is what you should have printed last night or this morning. Obviously, your test is all digital, so it's going to be on the computer. You're going to have to scroll through all this information. And Matt, when you can, I need you to turn your camera on, please, so I can see you. This is called up here, Penny Argumentative Performance Task. And if you notice in your binders, there's actually this assignment is actually in your binder as well. So it's kind of cool. We're I guess you could say killing two birds with one stone here. We're going to practice this for the test, and it's one of the assignments. So you're going to see a bunch of information at the front of this part of the test talking about the task. And that part just says, in recent years, a heated debate has emerged about money in the United States. This particular debate is not about big economic issues, though. Surprisingly, it's about the economic pros and cons of producing and using pennies. And I don't know if you've ever read.
Here's 100 pennies for you.
Yeah, and it's an interesting debate, actually. I kind of find it fascinating because the penny, there's great things about the penny. It's got Abraham Lincoln's on it, and it's copper. That's the only coin that's copper. And there's some neat things about it, but anymore, as you guys know, we don't need it, really.
It's also worthless.
It's interesting as we go
Well,
through.
unless you have $1.49, then you need to grab 4 pennies.
And you probably know at stores, a lot of times they have a little bowl that you could just dump your pennies in because nobody wants the pennies. They don't want to carry it around in
And
their
how are you
pocket.
supposed to get back your money when it's like 51 cents?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of times cashiers won't even consider pennies. Like they don't even really use them or consider them.
It's like, give me extra or you give me a penny.
The controversies surrounding the production and continued use of pennies is one of the topics that will be part of an upcoming website project for your history class. So this is just, made up scenario here for you. As part of your initial research, you have uncovered 4 sources about the historical and economic impact of the penny. After you have reviewed these sources, you will answer some questions about them. So this is, like I said earlier, this would be part 1. You would read the sources and then answer questions about them. And then it says, this is a tip for you when you're doing this part of the test. Briefly scan the sources and the questions that follow, and then go back and read the sources carefully so you have the information you will need to answer the questions and finalize your research. And by the way, you can go back and forth in this test. It's not like one of those where if you move on and you click next and you can't go back. It's not like that. You can go back, forward, back. Oh, wait, where is that? Scroll. I mean, you can move around on the test. It's not going to kick you off, okay? So feel free to do that, looking for answers. You may click on the global notes button. This is a suggestion they have, but I have a different suggestion, but it's going to be a button. It's not on this page, but you'll have a button where you can take notes. Maybe it's the clipboard up there. Anyway, take notes on the information you find on this in the sources that you read. You may also use scratch paper to take notes. And that's where I recommend you use scratch paper, because you will be allowed to have lined paper, blank lined paper. That's all you can have with you, and a pen or a pencil for the test. So, and then it gives you a few more suggestions here on how to research and go through the parts. I'm going to skip this for now for the sake of time, but when you do the test, you want to read all of the parts of the instructions, okay? But let's skip to the very back of the packet. It's the second to the last page, not the last page. The second to the last page, you'll see part 2. So find that. It's the second to the last page, part 2. Matt, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, turn on your camera, please. Part 2 is the second to the last page, and I need to see you, so tilt it down a little bit so I can see you. This is where it's called the performance task, the penny argumentative performance task. This is the big essay. Okay, that's what I want to focus on today. Like I said, some questions are going to be short answer, some are going to be longer. This one's the big kahuna right here, 5 paragraphs. Okay, this is what they're looking for. So it says, you will now review your notes and sources, and I'm going to show you how to make notes with your keyword outline and everything. And plan, draft, revise, and edit your writing. You may use your notes and refer to the sources. Now read your assignment and the information about how your writing will be scored, then begin your work. So right here where you see your assignment, this is what you're going to write about. This is really, really important when you do the test to make sure you understand what the assignment is, what they're looking for. So it says, as a contribution to the website your history class is creating, you decide to write an argumentative essay that addresses the issues surrounding the penny. Your essay will be displayed on the website and will be read by students, teachers, and parents who visit the website. Your assignment is to use the research sources to write a multi-paragraph argumentative essay, either for or against the continued production of the penny in the United States. So you're going to decide as we read these, are you for or against continuing producing the penny in the United States? Yeah, some of you might already have an opinion, and that's okay, but
I want more money.
Your opinion might change. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's like, I'll give you a dime instead of a penny. Okay.
And by the way, if you, as long as you write this essay, it doesn't have to be like for real your opinion, but whatever way you find it easier to write the essay, nobody's going to call you up and say, oh, well, you want to stop the penny. Well, shame on you. So nobody's going to do that. It's really just what you think after reading your essay, and whatever is easier for you to write about, that's what I would focus on. Okay.
Yeah.
Make
I
sure
might
you
just keep the pennies.
just keep them.
Yeah, keep them. Because
Well, there's some reasons to keep them. There are.
I'm doing math right here. If you're buying stuff that's like 4.99 and you're giving the pennies, like you don't need the pennies, and over a year you'll be having 100 pennies taken away from you, which is $1. So if you live up to like 99 or something, you're $99 wasted.
See, and there's some math in these articles. You're really close on what you're thinking right there. Okay. Make sure you establish an argumentative claim, address potential counter arguments, and support your claim from the sources you have read. And we're going to talk about what that means to have a claim. It's basically your statement. And then you're going to talk about the pros and cons of having these pennies still in circulation. So develop your ideas clearly and use your own words, except when quoting directly from the sources. And that is something you can do, is quote from the sources. You can take direct words from the source, but you have to say who said it or what source it came from. You're going to notice that all of these articles have a bibliography where it shows the references, and you can use those to help you quote things. Be sure to reference the sources by title or number when using details or facts directly from the sources. And then this is talking about the scoring, which I'm not going to go into right now, but basically they're just looking for a 5-paragraph essay that has an introduction and a conclusion. And we're going to practice doing that with a template today.
Question.
Yes.
Do you have to like put the author's name in it when you do like a quote or whatever? We're
Yes.
learning that in Mrs. Barton's class right now.
Yes. Okay.
It's-
Yes, that's right. So like this is the first article down here called Pennywise or 2.4 Cents Foolish. And that's a weird title, but we'll find out why it's named that, by Jeff Sommer. So you would say Jeff Sommer stated, comma, quote, and then you can take it directly from that article. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to refer back to, if you're going to do a direct quote, like word for word, it has to have the author's name next to it. That's
Okay.
something to remember. Okay, so I'm going through this kind of fast because it's really a lot to take in one class time. So I'm going to just read it. Actually, no, let me back up. We need to set up your lined paper first. I almost forgot. So you got your lined, this is your scratch paper, okay? Instead of putting your name on it, you don't need to because these are just your notes. I just want you to do really quick here where we normally put your name, put dress ups, and then go ahead and make a checklist for yourself. Try to remember everything that's on your checklist and make a list of all the things that you can remember. It's okay if you don't remember them all, but I'm going to give you just a minute to write them down.
Wait, do we have a checklist for this one?
No.
Yay!
No.
So we
But
can use banned words.
But you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it.
No.
Yeah, that's what you're doing right now. Well,
No.
this is gonna help you do better on the test, actually. Adding these words and stuff is really gonna make your score go up. So that's why I want to make sure you write these down. So you don't okay, for instance, the first one is ly adverb. And then we have who, which. What else do you guys remember on your checklist?
Would you like me to tell you them?
Try not to look. I want to see if you can just
I'm looking.
Kylie.
I'm kidding. Who, which clause?
Yeah. Because
The quality adverb.
quality adverb. There you go.
We have www.asia.b.
Yes. .asia. I'm going to not put the .b because I put because on there separately. But you could strong verb.
And then number 1 is subject.
Okay, so then you're talking about openers. So skip a line.
Yep.
Subject.
Prepositional.
Prepositional.
ly.
ly.
ing.
ing.
ac. www.asia.something.
That's actually clausal, but we'll still put Asia on here.
And then 6 is VSS.
VSS. Okay, good. Thank you, Kylie.
I did not look at the page.
See, you know it. And I bet everybody else did too, but they were just still, I think everybody's kind of waking up still.
We
So
just got sunburnt yesterday and I'm full of drained energy.
anyway, here's what I want you guys to do when you sit down to take the test is just write down as many as you can remember. It's okay if you don't remember them all. Try to just write down as much as you can remember. And then this becomes your checklist. So over here, as you're writing, you're going to, make your checks to make sure you're including these things in each paragraph. And it will just make your writing so much better and your score will just shoot up. I mean, you guys are going to ace this writing test. I know you will because you've got tools that you need to do it. That's the good thing. All right. So then on I guess we can start it on the back of this. I think we have room. Or if you have a second piece of paper, you can use the second piece of paper.
I have a lot of pieces of paper.
Okay, good. Go ahead and start by, let's build your keyword outline here. And Roman numeral 1 is going to have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be on your a paper that I'm going to show you in a minute here, but this is the introduction. So next to it, let's put just intro here. Skip a line, do Roman numeral 2, 3, 4. Those are your body paragraphs, right? And then 5.
It's just a V for that one, right?
It's just a V for 5, yeah. And I stopped at number 4 on that one because I'm out of space. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of scratch paper. That's okay. Remember, I want you to settle in. When you sit down and take the writing test, you got to know it's going to take time because you guys are in older classes now. You're moving up in your grade level. It's going to take time and it's going to be a little bit more complicated than the younger kids, obviously. So just make sure you're okay with taking the time. Don't rush. It helps for you to create a little checklist for yourself on this side, and then you can start making your outline on this side here. And this one at number 5, go ahead and put conclusion in the
I'm
mark.
always the last, like almost the last one to get out. I'm either like third to last or second to last, if not last.
That's good. That means you're taking your time.
Yeah,
Thumbs up if you got-
it also means that my mom has to come in late.
Oh, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you got your outline set up. Everything's ready to go. Okay, good. You're good. Okay. So let's go back to this. We're going to start reading now. And we know that, oh, I forgot to tell you one more thing here.
Uh-oh.
Since this is an argumentative essay, like I said earlier, you're going to have pros and cons. You know, pro is in support of and con is against, right? That's the difference between the two. So when you're writing out your body paragraphs, hold on, let me make sure I got this right here. Yep. Right here, this one's going to be, you're going to always start with the con. This is your body paragraph, Roman numeral 2. You're always going to start with, I'm going to put it in parentheses, the against side, okay? And then you're going to talk about both in the middle, pro and con here for Roman numeral 3, and then pro here at the end. So that is the pattern when you're talking about an opinion or argumentative essay. You start with a negative. You kind of mix the negative and the positive. It could go either way. You know, it's like good and
We're gonna
bad.
have a lot of butts in that one.
And we end on the pro in support of. And then in the conclusion, that's when you really release your opinion. You're not going to tell them till the very end, because if you tell them right out of the top, this is what I think we should get rid of pennies, then they're not going to want to read the rest of the essay. You don't want to spoil it. That's a spoiler. Okay. You want to keep it to the very end. And Kylie, I love your conversation, but I have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to just have you hold off on those. But that's the order and how you're going to introduce it. You're going to, and we'll talk about the introduction in a minute, but we're starting with against and then a little bit of a mix and then in support in the third body paragraph. Let's go on to this article here. I'm just going to kind of read it quickly and then we're going to talk about it. The news from north of the border is both trivial and unsettling. They won't be making shiny new pennies in Canada anymore. The government in Ottawa has made this decision after years of deliberation for reasons that would seem to apply equally well in the United States. Pennies take up too much space on our dressers at home. Jim Flaherty, the Canadian finance minister, said in a speech last month. And that's a quote. If you want to use that quote, his name is right there. You can refer back to that guy. A persuasive government brochure put it this way: we often store them in jars, throw them away in water fountains, or refuse them as change. Pennies cost more to produce than they are worth. They are worth so little that many Canadians don't bother to use them at all. So as we're going through these essays, as we're going through the articles, you can start tracking some notes here on your keyword outline. That comment on that page is a con against keeping the penny, because the goal is, should we keep the penny? And if you need to write the question at the top, let's do that just so we can remember. Should we keep the penny? This is at the very top of the page, just to help us remember this is the question we're focusing on. Are we keeping these pennies? So here's an example of a con against the penny. Here it's talking about how it costs more to produce than they are worth. So we can put cost, oops, not there. Sorry, that's intro. We're going to go to the body. Cost more produce than it's worth. Here's an example of jotting down some keywords. This is the con perspective. The first body paragraph. Remember, you've got 3 body paragraphs in the middle. The introduction and conclusion are different, so don't forget that. You're going to start in the middle here. Do we really need pennies? The Canadian government doesn't think so. By the fall, it plans to stop minting them and stop distributing them through banks. It won't actually ban them, though. Some people have grown so attached to pennies. A penny saved is a penny earned. After all, that they may want to keep using them indefinitely, and they can, the Canadian government says. So they're finding a way to keep the pennies that we already have in circulation, but does not produce anymore. And that would be kind of a mix between pro and con, right? Keep current pennies, but not produce any more. And they're doing that in Canada. So I'm going to just put Canada, keep and current. And you know what? It's okay if we need to squeeze an extra keyword in here for these, because this is just your personal notes, okay? You don't want to copy too much of original words, but this is an example of that could work for both sides, pro to keep it and con not to produce anymore, okay? Let's see. But those who can bear to part with their pennies are being encouraged to bring them to banks for eventual melting or donating them to charities, which will presumably bring them in for melting. Electronic transactions will continue to include cents, while retail sales will be rounded up or down. Inflation is sometimes cited as a threat whenever small coins are phased out. A $2.01 cup of coffee should be rounded down to $2, while $2.03 should become $2.05, for example. But retailers in the real world might raise prices more than lower them. That could cause a small one-time inflation burst, says Francois Valdet, an expert on the history of small change. So if we take away the penny, then that's a con. If we keep the penny, a negative to that. Actually, no, if we get rid of the penny, that's what would happen. So that goes with the pro, because if we keep the penny, then we won't have that rounding situation with the money, right? It can be an actual $2.01 cup of coffee. If we get rid of the penny, then the cost could go up. So we could put something here like cost could round, and then I'm just going to put an up arrow. This is a reason to keep the penny. I'm just going to put in quotes here, reason to keep, just for my own notes. You see how I'm adding stuff? I know this is not a typical keyword outline, but you're wanting to separate out the information we're reading into these different categories: against keeping the penny, for a little mix of both in here, and then pro keeping the penny, because we want to keep the penny, because if we don't, the cost could go up for items, round up to a nickel. Okay. He finds the argument for phasing out the penny can be at least as strong in the United States as in Canada, because the two nations' small coins, political history, and socioeconomic culture have so much in common. That's what makes the Canadian decision a little unsettling, he says. Their pennies look a lot like ours. In the United States, the mint says each zinc and copper coin costs $2.41. No, not $2.41, 2.41 cents. So a little more than double this actual worth of the penny, 2.41 cents to produce and distribute. It costs 1.6 Canadian cents to make a penny at the mint in Winnipeg, according to Canadian government figures. A Canadian cent is worth about 99 cents at the current exchange rate. From the standpoint of economics, that's just a total waste of money, Mr. Valdet says. So they're basically saying it costs more to make the penny than the cost of the worth, the value of the penny itself. So that would be a con, right? And we already have that. The cost to produce is more than it's worth. So we already have that. I'm going to keep going here. Pennies may not be big money, even if you add them together, but we are paying a cost for the privilege of squirreling them away in drawers and on dressers. The United States government, that is taxpayers, lost $60.2 million on the production and distribution of pennies in the 2011 fiscal year. The Mint's budget shows, and the losses have been mounting, 27.4 million in 2010 and 19.8 million in 2009. So it's just going up, the cost and the loss in taxpayer dollars in producing those pennies. A number of countries, including Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, Finland, and the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, and Britain, have already dropped their lowest denominated coins without dire consequences. So basically, other countries have done it, not that big of a deal. Okay, let's see. What is to be done in the United States? The Mint defers to Congress, and Congress hasn't told it to abolish the penny. Lawmakers have directed the Mint to study ways to make small coins more cheaply, like White, a spokesperson for Mint, says a report will be completed in December. At the very least, a change in the composition of the American penny seems likely. In 1982, Congress authorized the Treasury to make such a change, and it did. Before then, pennies were 95% copper and 5% zinc. Pennies manufactured since have been copper-plated zinc, with zinc making up 97.5% of the coin and copper only 2.5%. Steel, which was used in pennies in World War II, could be a substitute next. But why stop at the penny? It's not the only American coin that costs more than it's worth. Each nickel costs 11.18 cents to produce and distribute, the Mint says, at a loss to taxpayers of 56.5 million in the last fiscal year. In its 2013 budget proposal, the Obama administration has asked for authority to alter the composition of the nickel too. The whole situation is ridiculous, Mr. Valdez says. The serious, simple solution is to do away with the penny.
I have something to do for the penny.
That would be what?
So, what happens to all the people if you take away all the coins? What happens to all the people who work to make the penny? They're
Yeah,
not getting paid. And now you have like thousands of workers who can't get jobs because all the other ones are booked up and stuff.
that's an interesting question. That would be something interesting to research to find out how many people work at those manufacturing companies. And it just says up here, a penny for your thoughts. It's another slogan or saying. And then here we have footnotes. These are definitions. You probably saw those little numbers throughout. These are what those words mean. That is source one. So source one has a mix of pros and cons about the penny. We have a few notes that we have taken down, but we're going to keep going on to the next article here. Is the penny worth it? The United States Department of Defense doesn't think so. So that might be a reason to stop the penny. It would be a con because the United States Department of Defense is against it, right? So we could put that under a con here. U.S., and I'm just going to abbreviate Department, Defense. And then I'm just going to put like penny and then circle it and cross it out. They don't want the penny. The U.S. Department of Defense doesn't want the penny. The U.S. Department of Defense is the military. All right. For 30 years, pennies haven't been used on foreign military bases. Pennies are too heavy and are not cost effective to ship. Too heavy. And then expensive. Okay. Where am I? A spokesperson for the Army and the Air Force Exchange Service. This idea is the topic of much discussion lately, and the U.S. Congress is considering eliminating the penny from the United States currency system. On foreign military bases, instead of using pennies, the shops and restaurants round the nearest 5 cents, for example, and this is what was talked about in the other article. If a lunch bill comes out to $9.06, it would be rounded down to $9.05. If it was $9.09, it would be rounded up to $9.10. The rounding system seems to work well for the military, and some experts, such as Harvard professor N. Gregory Menkew, want to do the same in the entire United States. Some people fear that rounding will end up costing people extra money. Mark Weller, Americans for Common Sense spokesperson, claims that stores will not choose to round their prices down. He claims that when he says the rounding tax will cost consumers $600 million more per year, Dr. Robert Wapples, a professor at Wake Forest, disagrees and does not think the economic impact of eliminating pennies will be significant. Not only will he believe that it will have an insignificant impact on prices, but Wapples seems to think that eliminating the penny will save time too. Interesting. So that might be a con against keeping the penny would be that it actually saves time not having pennies. So if you want to add that one. So I'm going to stop taking notes here and I'm going to let you just, as I read, jot down some keywords under either against keeping the penny or somewhere in the middle for both.
Real quick question. Hasn't this already happened? Haven't they like eliminated the half dollar?
Oh, they have for the half dollar, yes. And they eliminated the $2 bill too. They're not producing it anymore, but it's still in circulation, so we can still use it.
I have the half dollar in my room right now.
Oh, cool. That's cool. But yeah, the penny, they're still producing the penny. I'm not sure. It's just, I don't know. They just haven't stopped it yet. So, okay. Not only do they believe it will not have an insignificant impact on prices. Oh, we already read that. Okay, let's see. Did we finish this one? No, it goes on. He asserts this time saved is even more valuable than eliminating the potential impact on rounding prices. His study says that time was wasted counting pennies that could, this is silly, that could add up to over $700 million per year nationwide. To a retail business, the time is money because many retail businesses pay their employees by the hour. If the retail clerk and customer spend just 2.5 seconds per transaction counting pennies, those seconds add up. Those seconds add up to an estimated $700 million in wages that businesses pay to retail clerks to count pennies. So they're translating time into money on counting pennies, which is like, it's a little ridiculous, but okay.
Not want to be a retail clerk. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of times where young people start though, because you learn customer service and you can get jobs easier that way if you're 18 and you have a car, like Starbucks or something. But most people use their credit card anymore anyway. It's rare that people are actually using cash anymore.
It's like, here's a penny. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Not everyone agrees that the penny should be totally eliminated. Many argue that price rounding cannot be done fairly and that finding a way to make pennies cheaper is a better approach. Steel, which was used to make pennies during World War II, could be a cheaper alternative. No matter what your stance, the penny debate is real, and the United States has to make a decision one way or the other. Okay, so that could be a pro, actually, it could be a pro. It could be one of a mix here if we change the way they make the penny. Change metal in the penny. I don't know. I'm just putting notes that make sense to me. You can copy mine, or if you have a different way to put it the way that makes sense to you. So you're kind of focusing in the middle here of, we can keep the penny, but if we change it, then the cost goes down. I might put a $sign and a down arrow there just so I can remember that. Okay. I think see, you're running out of time here. There's another article, Give a Penny, Save the Day. And then there's the last article down here, The Ever-Changing Penny. These are a little shorter, but since we're low on time, I'm going to assign this as your homework this week so you can finish up this keyword outline. But I want to really focus on the introduction and conclusion next, okay? And I will put this in your Google Classroom, because this is actually from your binder, but you don't have to get it out right now. I just want to talk to you about it. So it's on page 193, and this is your introduction here. It's how you start off your paper, your 5-paragraph paper. And these are the parts to the introduction. You can see it right here. Attention getter. That's a great spot to either put a VSS or you can put a quote. I like the idea of a quote because then you reference so-and-so said in this article, quote, and then something interesting to start it off. Okay, that's what I recommend for your attention getter. And that's what you would put for your introduction right here on Roman numeral 1. Then give a little bit of background. This is when you're going to need to look back on the articles and find out how long has the penny been around. I think one of them talked about that from World War II. The penny has been around since World War II. And, you know, how just giving a little background on maybe who's on the penny and how it got started, giving a little background here. That's probably going to be 2 sentences, maybe 3. And then you have a spot for your question. You must address your question. This is an argumentative essay. Our question here was, should we keep the penny? That's pretty straightforward. You can make it a little more elaborate and say, should the United States of America continue producing pennies or continue manufacturing pennies? You can add, you know, a little bit more vocabulary there, but that's the basic question that you want to include in your introduction. You're not going to tell them what you think yet. You're just going to pose the question to them because this is argumentative. And then you've got your topic A, topic B, topic C. Remember, these are your body paragraphs. Your body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3. And you're going to come up with some key words here to introduce your stand or what these articles are saying about being against producing the penny. A little bit of both, like, well, we can keep the penny, but maybe change how it's made. And then a pro would be something that you believe is good about the penny, like we don't want to round up or round down. We want to keep the penny to make exact sense, something like that. You're going to introduce those here in the introduction. And on this page, it gives you a little more instructions on how to come up with those too. And then on the back is the conclusion part. I'm sorry I'm going fast, you guys. It's a lot to squeeze in. I just want to prep you for this part of the test. And for your homework, you're going to continue working on this. The conclusion says to echo the topics. So here you're going to introduce the same topics again, wording them a little bit differently. And then your call to action, end with a statement of conclusion that states your final position. You don't tell them until the very end of your 5th paragraph where you stand on whether or not we should keep the penny. So you would say something like this: I believe the United States should keep producing and distributing pennies, keep it in circulation because it is a historical piece from World War II that has our president, Abraham Lincoln, on it. It's got a picture of the Capitol building on the back, and it is important for us to keep the history of the penny alive in our nation. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, so this is the big punchline of your paper all the way back here at the very end. And you're going to tell whether you support it or not. And if you don't support it, you would say something like, we need to get together as a nation and decide to not produce the penny anymore because it is a waste of money and it is taking up too much space and we need to get rid of it. Let's do this together. Something like that. Okay. Any questions about how to set up the introduction and the conclusion? I know I just was like, blah, 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 blah. I had to go fast, but I have a few minutes left at the end here. So you're going to not have this during the test, this part, but I wanted you to see this format because the argumentative essay is new to you guys with the pros and cons. So I wanted you to see the format. If you get an argumentative essay on the test, this is the type of format you would use for your introduction and conclusion. But obviously, when you sit down to take the test, You are only allowed to have scratch paper, blank. That's where this comes in handy. You can make your own checklist and your own keyword outline. And by the way, once you fill all this out, and I am going to turn it into a homework assignment for you, then you write your paragraphs. You start drafting those paragraphs and including your dress ups and your openers. Okay.
Just to be sure, we don't have to add all the openers and stuff.
You don't have to, because it's not necessarily like for me, you have to on your homework assignment. But I'm telling you, this adding all of this will make your score go up on your test. It really will, because they're looking for the types of vocabulary words and the sentence structure that you're using. Using these forces you to change up the structure of your sentences, and it's going to be really good when you do that. I know it's hard and it takes time. I get that. But it's not like, I don't want you to stress over it like you go maybe to prepositional and you don't have your list with you and you're like, I don't know what to start it with. I can't remember what a prepositional opener is. Don't stress over that. Just pick a different one. So use what you can is what I'm saying. That's a good question though. Any other questions about anything we talked about today? It's a lot. I know it's a lot and it's going to be hard. I'm just going to be real with you guys. If I said, oh, it's a piece of cake, you're going to be fine. I will say you are going to be fine. But just remember, when you're done with it, you're done for like a whole year. You just like move on. It's done. Just get it done and move on. That's the best advice I can give you. I do want you to take your time on it though. And if you only come up with like 3 for each of these, that's okay. Just use 3. If you have more, 4 and 5, you use 4 and 5 if you can. Try to come up with 5 paragraphs in this format where you introduce all the different sides of having the penny, show the con, a mix of both, and then a pro, and then you drive it home in the conclusion. That's what they're going to look for in the conclusion. Did you state your position on this question? Should we keep the penny? You have to tell them in the end, yes or no, this is your stand on this. Okay, that's the whole point of an argumentative essay. All right. You guys are going to be fine. It's going to be good to get it done. And you're ready for this. So no grammar this week. We're only focusing on this. If you only get to 3, like I said, that's okay. I want you to try to at least finish up this keyword outline and type up the paragraphs. Try to remember your dress ups in there. I'm not going to be as harsh on this one with the dress ups because this is just practice for the test. Okay. I want you to try to put as many as you can in there though. And then next week, we're moving on. And what are we doing next week? Let me just look ahead really quick. I know it's time to go, but let me just check. Oh, it's going to be cool. All right. Because I am going to veer off the book a little bit more again next week, starting next week. We're going to get into the United States Constitution, which happens to be something that I'm super passionate about. And we're going to look at amendments in the Constitution. And then we're going to look at Supreme Court cases and how they use the amendments to defend in the cases. And then you're going to write a research paper on it. It's going to be pretty cool, but you don't have to worry about that yet. I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm excited about it because it's like real life stuff. And the amendments are really good to know as an American citizen, as you guys are. So anyway, I'm just excited about that. This week, just get through the test and get through this homework for this week about the penny. And then we'll celebrate whenever you're done with the test. And then you can move on with life. Okay. All right, you guys, you're going to do great. I will see you next week. Have a good one. Any questions before we go? If not, you guys are free to go. Bye, you guys. Bye, Kylie. Bye, Matt.